Right now, the Ukrainian arsenal of weapons was striking Moscow. The enemy definitely did not expect such a rout. Our ballistic missiles cut off entire regions. Everything happened unexpectedly. Finland raised its army, Putin went too far, the mobilization of European forces reached its peak, and there was no longer any way to retreat. Ukrainian missiles hit Moscow, surprising the enemy. Finland mobilized. European forces peaked. Putin left no escape. Pokrovsk ended badly for Russia. People are shocked by Putin's actions. Fire broke out among their own, and then came an unexpected strike from the Balkans. Once again, a knife in Putin's back. The soldiers' lawlessness can no longer be hidden. Fires broke out, followed by a surprise strike from the Balkans. Once again, Putin is betrayed. Who will finally bring down the dictator's stronghold? Find out in this episode. Hellpoint, a true victory for Ukraine. The SPU and HOR's special operation turned the situation. Russia's defenses are in ruins, their forces are retreating, and ours are advancing. A major failure for Russia. Putin is screaming. Ballistics bursts onto enemy territory and sets its own rules there. Fierce drones will finally take control of the airspace. It has begun. The AFU are showing their true power. And this is only a part of our capabilities. Ukrainian forces are advancing with powerful weapons, breaking through defenses and showing their strength. A major operation may be underway.
Will be shaken. Ukraine destroyed the Oreshnik on its territory. It has not been disclosed exactly what kind of weapon was used by the Ukrainian special services. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian defense industry is expanding significantly every year. Ukraine is successfully using Neptune and Flamingo missiles together to strike Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky told journalists about this and noted that while this is not yet widespread use, there are already the first tangible results. Ukraine uses undisclosed weapons for successful strikes.
Against Russia, President Zelensky told journalists, "This is not a mass deployment. There are already tangible results from this weapon."
The president mentioned the use of a missile. President mentioned the Ballistics missile drone. The second positive trend, according to Zelensky, in dozens of cases has struck enemy military depots.
Zelensky named the use of the Ruta missile drone, which for the first time flew 250 kilometers and struck a sea tower, as the second positive trend. We have quite a few missile drone developments. There are analysts who say that these are all just small-sized cruise missiles. I don't quite agree with that, for one simple reason. Because, of course, cruise missiles are something that have a certain migration. That is, the missile is launched either from the air or from the ground, then these wings open up and they create a radio informational force that allows the missile's wings to carry it far. But our Ukrainian missile drones have fixed wings. So, a missile is launched either from the air or from the ground, then these wings open up and they create aerodynamic lift, which allows the missile to fly far. In contrast, our Ukrainian missile drones have fixed wings that are permanently attached, and they don't require any special launchers or special casings that are inserted into these launchers to ensure standardization.
However, the greatest achievement of the Ukrainians is considered to be the mass use of the Lyuty kamikaze drones, which numbered up to 300 UAVs.
Lyuty is a system with a different concept. It is neither externally nor internally the same. It has nothing in common with the Shahed, its control system, guidance system, and components. However, the greatest achievement of the Ukrainians is considered to be the mass use of the kamikaze Lyuty drones, which numbered up to 300 UAVs.
The security service of Ukraine's naval drones have improved in terms of combat payload and range. They can strike targets over 1,500 kilometers away. They were first used in 2022 during the attack on Russian Black Sea Fleet ships in Sevastopol Bay. And since then, these drones have kept evolving and improving. The SBU now has many more ways to destroy targets than before. And it's not just about 1,500 kilometers anymore. There are other capabilities too. Since August of this year, as you may know, The serial production of the Flamingo missile has been announced, capable of striking targets at a distance of 3,000 kilometers. The modernized Neptune has been successfully engaging ground targets for a year now, currently at a range of up to 400 kilometers. It has been stated that soon it will be able to hit targets up to 1,000 kilometers away. Urgently, in the north, as a guest in this place. Panic is growing in Moscow. Officials are nervously running around and the regions are forming people's militias because they are afraid even of the slightest hint of financial collapse. They are acting preemptively, like Finland.
Finland is deploying 15,000 troops to the border with Russia. The Finns are preparing for the largest series of military exercises this year. Conscripts, reservists, professional soldiers, as well as units from allied countries Sweden and the United Kingdom will take part. According to the country's land forces, the purpose of the maneuvers is to test the army's readiness to defend the state and to strengthen cooperation with NATO allies. This is NATO's corresponding response to aggressive actions from the other country.
On the territory of the occupying country, currently not far from the border with Finland. At this moment, there is intensive engineering construction of new military bases for the army. On the territory of the occupying country, directly close to the borders of Finland, there is currently intensive engineering construction of new military bases for the occupying country's army. This concerns Petrozavodsk, Kandalaksha, and other settlements on the territory of the Russian Federation, which indicate the redeployment of Russian army units directly near the borders of Finland. One of the largest episodes will be the Lively Sentry exercise, which will take place in southern Finland from November 27th to December 4th. Nearly 7,000 participants will be involved. The Russian Federation has constantly made it clear to Finland what threat hangs over this country. Moreover, there has been a continuous element of military political pressure on Finland with the aim, accordingly, of maintaining its so-called neutral status. So, to say that, in the spring of 2023, Finland officially became a member of the North Atlantic Alliance. This provoked a notably sharp reaction from Russia, worsening bilateral relations. In addition, Finland imposed sanctions against Russia and refused to grant asylum to Russians who, for example, in September, former ALCO president Dmitry Medvedev decided that Finland was preparing to attack Russia.
After joining NATO under the guise of defensive measures, Helsinki is pursuing a confrontational course, preparing for war with Russia, apparently setting up a staging ground for an attack on us.
Moreover, according to his version, Russia, supposedly by law, after Finland joined NATO, Russia accused it of preparing for war and demanded weight-to reparations. Following the alcoholic Medvedev, the head of the State Duma Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, also made aggressive statements. He stated, or rather threatened, that at the time they paid too little thanks to the goodwill of the Russians. Following the alcoholic Medvedev, the head of the State Duma Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, also made aggressive statements. He stated, or rather threatened, that Russia is ready to defend. They have everything they need. Medvedev had also spoken about this earlier.
We cannot ignore the fact that Finland is currently, at this moment, a member of the North Atlantic Alliance. This implies changes in our military approaches to border arrangements and to repelling. Medvedev had also spoken about this earlier. Political and
military leaders of Finland are doing everything they can to emphasize that an attack would be an act of suicidal madness. The Russian Federation is demonstrating its readiness for a direct confrontation with the NATO bloc. And accordingly, the first states that will be in the focus of the occupying country's army are respectively Finland and the Baltic states. That's why the risks are very high. An attack by Russia would be an act of suicidal madness. Earlier, it was reported that Finland had offered NATO to establish a new military base on its territory in Helsinki, which could become a base for large NATO reconnaissance drones. This is a sensational revelation that has come to light. No one was supposed to find out about this information. Now all the cards are on the table. Putin is sending soldiers into assaults indiscriminately. The hellish meat grinder of the front, which has decided to remain in Ukraine, devours Kremlin mercenaries one after another, but the dictator doesn't care. He gives desperate orders and follows through. He takes away single fathers, sending their children to orphanages. This is not the height of cynicism, a shocking Kremlin secret. Kremlin mercenaries are devoured one after another. Still, the dictator doesn't care. He gives desperate orders and follows through. He takes away single fathers, sending their children to orphanages. This is still far from...
is not the height of cynicism. The shocking secret of the Kremlin, which is now known to everyone, lies ahead. Don't miss it. You need to hear this. The wounded and maimed are sent into assaults, and those soldiers who are unwanted are simply eliminated. And if someone refuses to sign a contract, then they will end up signing it anyway. But the newly minted soldier only finds out about this after the fact. It's also practically impossible to leave the army. Even single parents, who by law should be released without any issues, are not granted discharge. Their children are simply placed in orphanages during this time. According to single parents interviewed by Avesta, commanders may initially just refuse to accept their resignation reports, denying discharge verbally. And if the documents are accepted, they can simply be lost. And the soldiers continue to serve while their children temporarily live with relatives or are placed in orphanages. So it turns out that even though their father is alive, the children are orphans. But really, what can you say about discharging a healthy man when in the Russian army there is no such thing? And the soldiers continue to serve while their children temporarily live with relatives or are placed in orphanages. So it turns out that even though their father is alive,
the children are orphans, even though their father is alive. But really, what can you say about discharging a healthy man when in the Russian army they don't even discharge severely wounded soldiers? They looked at us and said, "So what? You're healthy, just missing a leg." "Oh, it's just a leg. At least the sky is still above me, but it's just a leg." He's been sitting here for several days too. What was I trying to say with this? These
occupiers will soon be sent on their final meat assault. The fact that some of them are missing limbs doesn't interest anyone. Their commanders simply use them as disposable cannon fodder. Some occupiers still believe the state will help them, so they complain to the Kremlin's ombudsman. These occupiers will soon be sent on their final meat assault. The fact that some of them are missing limbs doesn't interest anyone. Their commanders simply use them as disposable cannon fodder. Some occupiers still believe the state will help them, so they complain to the Kremlin's ombudsman about being denied medical assistance or receiving poor treatment. The number of such complaints has increased significantly. In Tver, over 2 years, from 459 to
In 1976, a soldier was treated, sent to the front, and has been missing since May 2024. Not all recover fully. It happens that a soldier is sent to the front line despite doctors' recommendations to continue treatment and the need for rehabilitation. And proper rehabilitation. It happens that a soldier is sent to the front line despite doctors' recommendations to continue treatment and the need for rehabilitation.
As a result, there are soldiers on the front line who are physically unable to carry out combat missions. But at least these ones went to the front voluntarily. There are also cases when Russian men only
find out after the fact that their occupation has changed. Black recruiting, black recruiters, they turn to human traffickers. What we have is simply human trafficking for the supply of
people to the front. Everyone, without exception, ends up in the crossfire. Cerebral palsy, mental illnesses, missing limbs, all of that is considered trivial. The Russian army will find a use for them. The local administrations, of course, know all about it. They even encourage it.
And help out. In my home village of Kenyu, Cherkasy, they got a guy from Siberia drunk. A Russian soldier like that can be eliminated with the help of his commanders. The occupiers complain.
It is known that unwanted SVO soldiers are often sent on extremely dangerous suicide assaults. One of the important roles during an assault in the military is called a platform. The occupier is sent without a weapon or body armor in order to reveal the firing positions of the Ukrainian forces.
You just run one way with a blocking detachment standing behind you. They don't let you go back. Your only chance to survive is to get wounded and be captured by the Ukers.
The occupiers confess not only to the doctors. Russian soldiers are sent unarmed to reveal Ukrainian positions, forced forward by blocking units. Their only hope is to be wounded and captured. Commanders sometimes cause friendly fire, endangering both soldiers and civilians. An artillery strike was carried out on a village. Many people died, including children. He only found out what had happened after
The administration of the so-called LNR, as it was reported, complained directly to the command. Basically, what happened was that they mixed up the targets, specifically the Grad and Uragan ones. Both of these targets were marked in exactly the same way on the map without any distinguishing features, and the guy who was on duty at the command post just basically mixed them up, Captain. And I was told about this particular incident, which, as you can imagine, caused quite a bit of confusion and concern among those involved.
the incident was hushed up, and Russian television claimed Ukrainian servicemen were in that village. These are just the stories that have come to light in recent days. In reality, the situation is much worse, and it keeps getting worse every day.
An emergency is unfolding in Pokrovsk, with a real frontline hellish scenario developing. Ukraine armed forces show encirclement scale. The enemy is panicking, trying to save themselves. An emergency is unfolding in Pokrovsk, with a frontline hell developing. The armed forces of Ukraine revealed the encirclement. The enemy is scrambling to save their forces, but Ukrainian troops are cutting off escape routes. The Russian command claims victory, but this arrogance is turning into a slap from our side. The fight continues. Video from Pokrovsk surfaced online. The moment of truth has arrived. The truth about the frontline vortex. Don't miss what's next.
A Ukrainian crew in a German Leopard tank crushes a Russian FPV Shdun with a drop on the highway. Apparently, its operator missed the moment when he could have launched the deadly drone into the sky. Currently, the situation in the Pokrovsk-Myrnohrad direction is very difficult, if not critical. Nearly half of all clashes on the front line are happening precisely in the Pokrovsk direction. Russian channels are writing that the city is essentially in a cauldron. They claim the Ukrainian armed forces have no chance, but the occupying forces might make a gesture of goodwill.
But the occupying forces might make a gesture of goodwill in order
To supposedly show the dire situation of the Ukrainian armed forces, the Kremlin wants to provide a corridor for Western citizens. To supposedly show
the dire situation of the Ukrainian armed forces, the Kremlin wants to provide a corridor for Western journalists. This is about attempts to wage psychological and media warfare, to draw attention to the fact that the Ukrainian armed forces are in a bad situation and to frame it in the way they need.
According to the data released by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, which is the official body responsible for overseeing military operations in Ukraine, there is currently no mention or confirmation of any encirclement of Ukrainian forces. The General Staff has stated that at this time Ukrainian troops have not been surrounded or cut off. Instead, the fighting is taking place on the outskirts of the area, where Ukrainian units are actively engaged in combat and continue to defend their positions against enemy advances.
There is no such thing in Pokrovsk. This is merely a statement of Russian propaganda that does not correspond to reality. The enemy's occupation army is indeed increasing pressure in the Pokrovsk direction, particularly in the Pokrovsk-Myrnohrad agglomeration area. The situation in Pokrovsk remains difficult and dynamic. Separate groups of enemy infantry are infiltrating the city of Pokrovsk and trying to
move and concentrate in this settlement. The real prospect of encirclement of the Ukrainian armed forces defending Pokrovsk, generally speaking, no, because if the situation takes a really bad turn, these troops can withdraw and evacuate to the north. Supplies are still coming in. What does this mean? It means that during the supply of these convoys, these could be trucks or other vehicles, Despite the extremely difficult and challenging situation on the ground, even if the Ukrainian armed forces are ultimately forced to leave the strategically important cities of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad, the occupying forces,
having lost a huge amount of equipment such as vehicles, weapons and other important supplies, as well as a significant number of personnel, the forces found themselves in a much weaker position than before. This is also confirmed by the intelligence services of European countries.
Of course, it is also clear that sooner or later Ukraine will have to withdraw its units from the Pokrovsk district. But as I have said before, the capture of the Pokrovsk district by Russian forces is not a foregone conclusion. European intelligence says the front line will not change even as Ukraine is expected to leave Pokrovsk, which will fall to Russian control.
Russian troops will not change Ukraine's situation. Anskivelsk, Estonian defense intelligence chief, said Putin claimed Pokrovsk would soon fall to Russian forces.
The Balkan countries are becoming more active, and this is possible. Urgent! The Balkan countries are becoming more active, and this could shift the balance of power in the region. Zagreb and Kosovo are already sending columns of equipment to the front lines, reinforcing Ukrainian positions. Athens is preparing to transfer combat aircraft, giving a massive boost to Ukraine's air fleet. It's a fantastic moment, and this is just the beginning. Details about the next deliveries and their impact are covered in the following report.
Recently, Ukraine received a new and substantial package of military aid from Croatia, which included various forms of equipment and resources intended to bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities. Additionally, Ukraine and Croatia have agreed on further cooperation, aiming to strengthen their partnership and enhance mutual support in addressing ongoing security challenges.
Joint production of weaponry. Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Denis Shmyhal, and Croatia's Minister of Defense, Ivan Anušić, signed a joint letter of intent to deepen defense industrial cooperation. I express gratitude to Croatia for providing 13 packages of military aid totaling over 200 million. We are expecting the 14th aid package soon.
Of aid and the 15th by year end. In the meeting, we discussed joint participation in the SAFE mechanism and Croatia possibly joining the Pearl initiative. We thank Denis Shmyhal, Ukraine's defense minister, for considering this. Early next year, a joint industrial forum of defense product manufacturers will be held. Croatia's greatest interest?
Is of course in producing various drones, which have already changed modern warfare. The Croatian side will also help Ukraine with demining. I noted Croatia's role in the demining coalition. The experience of this friendly country is important for clearing our land. The Croatian company Doc Inc. has already provided 69 demining machines and started making spare parts in Ukraine. Denis Shmyhal, Minister of Defense of Ukraine. Greece.
Very soon will deliver M110A2 howitzers of American manufacture to Ukraine, 150,000 units of ammunition and Zuni rockets. This military aid, with a total value of about 199 million euros, will be transferred to Ukraine through the Czech Republic. Also, Greece, under pressure from other NATO countries, may sell part of its fighter jets.
Mirage 2000. Greece has already purchased 24 more modern Rafale fighters from France. And considering that technical support for the 2005 fighters will end in 2027, it is looking to get rid of the old ones. However, negotiations with India regarding the sale of these fighters have reached a dead end. Other Balkan countries have also not found any interested buyers. France is in negotiations with France to purchase even more.
6 to 12 Rafale fighter jets, and is seeking a price reduction in exchange for selling part of its Mirage 2000 fleet. Now, Athens is negotiating with France to acquire another 6 to 12 Rafales and is arranging for a lower price in exchange for selling part of its Mirage 2000s. Currently, the Greek Air Force has 25 such aircraft in service. The United States is putting pressure on the country. Therefore, it is only a matter of time before Kyiv purchases part of the Mirage 2000s from Athens. Even the partially recognized Republic of Kosovo is helping Ukraine. Pristina has announced the delivery of a new package of military aid to Ukraine. The Balkan country is ready to help as much as it can. The details of the aid are not being disclosed. It is known that it includes mortar shells of various calibers, including Kosovo's defense minister shared a video of Kosovo and British forces expressing support for Ukraine. Eastern European countries and the Balkans are actively helping Ukraine with various types of weaponry and by conducting training sessions on their territory. Such support is excellent. They conduct training for Ukrainian soldiers. Eastern European countries and the Balkans are actively helping Ukraine with various types of weaponry and by conducting training sessions on their territory. Such support is excellent.
This clearly shows their attitude toward the Russian world and Putin. That's all from me for now. I was Darina Hutsakalo. Even more scorching news in our next video. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you!
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.